Hello everybody and welcome back to another CB Showtunes tutorial. Now today what we're going to do is we will be continuing our tutorial series on creating a video game. And today's tutorial series is going to be creating or importing our characters and then creating what looks like this, to where you could hop, you could walk, and of course you can go and mine or attack, whichever one you want it to be. Alright, so without further ado, let's get started. Now, as you can see, it is already updated from the previous tutorial, so I'm going to go ahead and just explain how I did this, and of course, yeah. Okay, so inside our last tutorial, what we had was a capsule. So let me go and just create a capsule real fast. So here we have a capsule just sitting around. And here we have our imported character. As you can see inside our player folder right here, this is the FBX that I had imported from Blender. Okay, so if you've been following along inside our tutorial, what we're going to do is we're going to take the original character and we're going to remove the FPS controller or the FPS script that we had on there. So if you were using the FPS controller inside of the assets, package and all, what we're going to do here is we're just going to get a normal capsule. And now what we're going to do is we're just going to add a rigid body onto this. So basically the rigid body is going to allow us to interact with the physics. We're going to go ahead and freeze the rotations just like so. Perfect. So that's all we need on our player object right now. And we're also going to deselect this mesh render. We don't want to see it. Next, we're going to right click on our player. We're going to go over to create empty. And we're going to call this graphics. That way, we can adjust our graphics to however we want it to be. So underneath this graphics empty object, you're going to drag your player FBX object. So go and just drop them right in. And from there, you just got to scale it down to whatever you want it to be. And in fact, actually, before we drag it underneath the graphics option, we're going to just drag him into the scene so he's on the ground. And then we'll drag him into the graphics object. And from here, we're just going to scale him. I think he would be a 0.2 by 0.2. So let me see, where's this? Okay, so we need to realign the player, so 0, 0, 0. Perfect. Okay, so he is sitting a little bit off the ground, which is not what we want. So let's go ahead and align him directly with the ground. So we're going to go into orthographic view, grab him right there, and then just drag him down. Perfect. Okay. So now since we have our character set up, he's still a little off the ground, so we'll just drag him a little bit lower. Okay, so now since we got our player inside the scene, you're going to notice that he has an animator controller already attached. Now, if you got this off the asset store, you already imported FBX character, and he has a skeleton, or she has a skeleton on them, then what you need to do, what it will do is automatically have the animator attached along with the avatar, because the avatar is essentially the skeleton that's on your character. So if you don't have an avatar, it means it doesn't have a skeleton rig, and you'll have to go and make one for that. So yeah. Alright, so we now have our player inside the scene, we have our graphics set up, and we have this right here. Cool. So let's go ahead and go back into orthographic view. It doesn't matter which side we're looking at. And we're going to modify the capsule collider, because if you notice, it's not perfect. So select this edit collider, and we're just going to drag it out. Drag it out. We just wanted to cover the basics. So yeah, all the way to the ground, all the way up. And of course, we want to just bring this in a little bit, No biggie. Right. So that looks perfect, actually. Alright, so I created this script, and it's going to be left inside the comment section below, so you guys could just copy the script, and I'll go quickly over what it is. So let me go to my script tab, and we're going to drop our player inventory script, which we covered in our last tutorial, and our player control. Now, with this game object, make sure that you do change it to player, so we can actually be moving it around. Let me go and disable this other player because, you know, he's not supposed to be there. Right. So you notice that we have a speed, jump height, mouse sensitivity is grounded in anim. Like I said, we'll go over the script in a second, but we're going to go ahead and set these variables. So I'm going to set the speed to about a 0.2, jump height to about, I don't know, 500, and mouse sensitivity about 2. And of course, we're going to select is grounded, and then we're going to find our player inside the graphics and then just drag them in there because we're grabbing this animator right here. So yeah. All right. So let's go ahead and hop into the script real fast so you could see how we can actually adjust our animations. And then we'll hop into the animator controller and start setting up those animations. So what we have here is just a require component type of rigid body because we will be using a rigid body inside here. This makes sure that if we drag the script onto the player, then it will automatically apply a rigid body if there is not one there. Okay. Oh, and make sure that you did put those freeze rotation restraints as well. Otherwise, you'll find some interesting actions. But anyway. Okay, so we have a public float speed, public float jump height, public float mouse sensitivity. And we have some private floats. This is mouse Y and Y. And this allows us to turn. So Y would allow us to turn with the horizontal keys, and mouse Y would allow us to control our rotation by right-clicking with our mouse and then moving. So yeah, we'll get more into that when we go to the rotation tab or turn tab. We also have rigid body, RB. We're calling the rigid body function. We have a public animator called anim. That's what you saw in the inspector. Underneath our void start function, we're going to put RB is equal to get component rigid body. So we're finding our rigid body on our game object. And of course, we did the same thing with the public animator. Now, this is not absolutely necessary. You don't need it because it's a public animator. I just like doing it because it's, you know, what I do. Okay, so inside our void update function, you'll notice we have a couple of these functions that I called. So we have a movement function, turn function, jump function, and check animation function. And what these serve as is essentially, I guess, categories to where you could place each individual system without cluttering up your update function. So you know exactly what each one's doing. And I just started doing this because it really does work. So let's go ahead and check out the void movement. So I open that up, and you can notice we have a var z is equal to input.getAxis vertical multiplied by speed. Basically saying we're going to get our vertical axis, or WS, forward, back. I believe it is on the other one. It's maybe the right stick on the PS4 remote, but you know, whichever is the moving stick that moves you forward, that's what it's going to be controlling on the vertical. And then of course we have transform.translate 00z, so we're moving on our z axis. Personally, I would rather go with a rigid body movement system, at least now, but this works, so we're just going to go with that. We have our void turn, so we say y plus is equal to input.getAxis horizontal multiplied by mouse sensitivity. So just like this right here, except we already called our y function up here, right? So the float y, and we're just going to make it plus equal to whatever we press that, right? Multiplied by mouse sensitivity. We're also going to say mouse y plus equals input.getAxis mouse x. Basically, whenever we move our mouse sideways like this, it's going to be counting that, multiplied by mouse sensitivity. Okay, and then you notice this rotate only if right mouse button is clicked. That's basically saying if input.getMouse button 1, we're going to put transform.rotation is equal to quanternity.Euler 0, mouse y 0. And you notice this little guide down here, y is equal to mouse y. This makes sure that y and mouse y are equivalent. And you'll notice when we go back into the demo scene, so yeah, we'll go, I'll show you how that works. And then of course we have else, if we are using the horizontal key instead, and then of course vice versa on this, mouse y is equal to y. So yeah, I know it's a little bit confusing, but it works. Alright, so inside the void jump function, this is just like any of our other functions we've always used before. If it's grounded and we press the spacebar key right there, then rigid body.add force, transform.up, multiply by jump height. If you notice we didn't put a comm space force mode, I just kept it the original, which is force. And then of course we have is grounded is equal to false. Perfect. And then of course we have the void check animation. Now this is the most important part when working with the animator, because this is how you decide what is going on with your animator. Now we would be working with blend trees, but we're going to be just going with the original so you guys can understand why we're doing things. And then of course if you want to work with blend trees you can later. And if you want a video on that as well, make sure to leave a comment inside the comment section below so I can actually set that up for you guys. Anyway, so if moving, right? So if we are pressing the forward or backwards axis, and this means or right there, then it's going to say anim.setBool is idle is equal to false, right? So we're no longer inside the false state, or we're no longer in the idle state if we are moving forward or backwards. Else is idle is equal to true. Pretty simple. If jumping, if is grounded is not equal to true, that's what that exclamation mark means. Anim.setBool is jumping is equal to true, right? And of course, if we go to the else statement, anim.setBool is jumping is equal to false. Pretty simple. And of course, if attacking / mining, we're going to say if input.get button fire 1, then anim.setBool is attacking is equal to true. And of course, anim.setBool is attacking is equal to false. That's the else statement. And lastly, of course, we have the void on collision enter and void on collision stay. This is just a common function that you'd find, and we're just going to put is grounded is equal to true. And that means that as long as we're on something, we're going to stay is grounded. Now, I did make one more change to our resource nodes. I did change for the input. Instead of pressing E, we are actually going to put input.get button fire 1. That just means that we're changing it to the left mouse button. Same thing as we did right here, essentially. Okay, so I did create a script for world settings. This is just a gravity script. If you want to add that to your game, you can. This just allows us to fall faster. But let's go ahead and test out our player. Now, disregard the animations. We haven't set those up yet. Whoops. Yeah, I forgot to drag the main camera. Cancel. So I'm going to actually disable that one because we already have this one. Okay, so basically, we're going to press play. If we right click and move our mouse, we're turning. If we left click or right click with the horizontal keys, we're turning as well. And of course, if we right click again, we're turning. And this is what I was talking about by adjusting the mouse Y to the X-axis whenever the X-axis is moving, and adjusting the X-axis whenever the mouse Y is moving. That way we stay on a consistent turn instead of it snapping back to the original location. And of course, if we press forward and backwards, we move forward and backwards. And if we press hop, we hop. And this was also the reason why we had the gravity, because when I was falling, it was falling very slowly, and I didn't like that, so yeah. Alright, everything should be working properly right now, so we're going to go ahead and quickly cover the animation stage. So, to get your animation set up, make sure that you go back over to your player folder, and you're going to select your game object. and find, I mean, if you're using one from Blender, then it's going to have all your animations right here. Like if it starts on rig, you got to find animations. If you imported it from a different source that has animations separate from the character, then you could just edit the animations from there. But what you're going to do is you're going to find the animations you want to repeat. So I want the attack, the idle, the jump. Well, not the jump. I want the attack, idle, and walk to repeat. So select each one and then find loop time, loop pose. This is only going to be, loop pose is only going to work if you are not going to be applying root motion, okay? We also have the skeleton, same thing. Walk, same thing. And as you can see, jump, we don't, which is awesome. Once you got these changed, you're going to hit apply. So it's be at the way bottom. And then you're going to right click, create, and let's go ahead and create an animated controller. And this is just going to be a reference, so I'm just going to call it ref. Open it up. And then you go to select your player. So yeah, whenever you got your player, you're going to drag the ref onto the controller. Okay, so let's go and open that up. Now the first thing we're going to talk about here is the parameters. Now I did have a separate video on these, so if you do not know what these are, then you can go check out that video, but I'll briefly go over them. So float is a value, int the value, bool is a true or false value, and trigger is just saying once activated. Now we're just going to be working with booleans today, as you saw inside the script. So we're going to create isIdleBoolean. So let's do that. Let's create a boolean called isJumping. And let's create a bool called isMining, I think. I mean, press escape real fast and check out the other one. I want to make sure that I put these just right. Okay, isAttacking. Now keep in mind that however it's spelled over here, it needs to be spelled exactly the same way inside the script. Okay, so to get your animations, especially if it comes from Blender, just open up the character right there, and then just drag them in. So we have our attack, idle, walk, and jump. So we're going to right click on our idle. We're going to say set as layer default state. This is the automatic state we're going to be in. And let's go and drag that up, drag that over. So we want to go to the walk state first. We're going to say make transition, perfect, boom, bada bing. And we're going to press plus on the condition. Now this is from idle to walk, which means isIdle is equal to false. So we want to take has exit time off. We also want to press plus, and we're going to put isAttacking is equal to false. Okay, perfect. So we're going to do the same thing, but vice versa. So isIdle is equal to true, and isAttacking is equal to false. And the more conditions that you have, the better this will work. So, yeah. All right, so now we have our attack. So we're going to just drag that there, make transition there. And what I'm doing is right-clicking and then left-clicking on where I want that transition to go. So to attack, we just want it to be one variable, and we're going to say isAttacking is equal to true, takeoff has exit time, and then when we return to isIdle is equal to true, and isAttacking is equal to false, what we're going to do is we're going to keep has exit time because it's going to the idle state. Now, if we go to isAttacking for walking, we want to make sure has exit time is equal to true. And of course, backwards, we're going to do the same thing as we did with the last one. But one thing we are going to change is has exit time off. The reason why we did that is because we want it to automatically switch back into a walking state if we start walking. Okay, lastly, we're going to go with our jump state. Now, jump states, they pretty much could happen from any state. So we're going to make a transition from the anyState function right there. And we're going to add our condition, and we're going to say isJumping is equal to true. So whenever we're jumping, this is going to apply. So even if we're moving around and all, we want it to just jump. And then we're going to right-click, make transition to walk. We're just going to say if isIdle is equal to false. if his attacking is equal to false, and if his jumping is equal to false. And of course, we'll take has exit time off. And of course, we'll make a transition to the other one as well. Is idle is equal to true, is attacking is equal to false, and is jumping is equal to false. Like so. And of course, takeoff has, actually we'll keep on has exit time because it's going to the idle stage as well. And lastly, we're going to go make transition here. And this will just be if is jumping is equal to false and is attacking is equal to true. And I think we could take off has exit time on that. Yeah. Perfect. Okay, so now since we have that set up, we're going to go ahead and save. And we're going to head over to our player. Go ahead and drag on, or not that, it's player graphics, that's what it is. Sorry, guys. Drag our reference on there. Got to press play. And it should work wonders, which should be awesome. So, yeah. And now, while this is loading up, I'm going to go and do my little spill. If you guys like this tutorial, make sure that you like, subscribe, check out some other videos, and also make sure that you leave a comment in the comment section below if you have any questions regarding this video or any other video as well, and so on. Yeah. Alright, now before we actually end this video, there is one more thing I want to do. We're going to go over to the animator controller, and there's a cool part about this. We could speed up animations just by coming over here to the speed, and I'm going to change it to about 3 on that speed, and the attack to about 5. There we go. And that's the cool part about Unity's animator and all, is because you could adjust the speed of the animation just like that. It's just super awesome. Okay, so we're going to press play one more time. And let's go ahead and do this. So we're moving around. Perfect. We look awesome. And there's our attack function. And if we walk over to this, so as the resource node we created inside our last tutorial, as you could see, we are mining our resources, which is super awesome. Yay! Alright, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial, as I said. And I'll repeat this because it's very important. If you have any questions and you really want to add something to this game, or you really need help with something, make sure that you leave the comments in the comment section below, and I will be sure to try to help you out. Alright, I'll see you guys next time.